So I went to gunnery school down on Montauk Point, and I was floundering around for a little bit, and all of a sudden I got orders that sailor report to Treasure Island, which is out on the west coast, and I did. And when I reported to the vessel, it turned out to be an aircraft carrier. Well, I was upset. I insisted there was something wrong, that there was a mix-up. I don't belong on this thing. I don't know anything about your airplanes. I don't know anything about your engines. I don't, I'm not going to be any good. I'm going to be a third wheel, and it didn't make any difference whether I moaned or groaned or not. Sailor, get aboard. So I was aboard about 3 or 4 days while they were taking on ammunition and gasoline, high-octane gas, and things of that nature. And the waterline was like here, and the waterline got here, and the waterline got here, and it went down. Pretty soon there was no waterline, and I said, wow, I'm going to be sitting right on top of this stuff. And these were very high explosive bombs, incendiaries, and all the other sort of thing that goes with it. And I took a look at the bow, and I looked back at the stern, and I looked at port, I looked at starboard, and I said, you got to be blind to miss this thing. I mean, just aim it in that direction, you're going to get it. So I was upset. Nobody told me anything. Typical Navy, you're a sailor and you take orders, so okay. But and in fact, I didn't have a bunk, and I slept right out on the flight deck underneath the wing of an airplane. And I couldn't figure that out either. And being a young guy like I was, a little bit naive. So anyway, finally it wound up in Pearl Harbor, and as soon as I got to Pearl Harbor, I was transferred to the submarine base. And of course I gave a big sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness, I'm glad to be off that thing. And then too, I knew a little bit about torpedoes at that time, and the depth, and that water, the depth that that thing was. Again, you could set it at 30 feet and probably hit it, because the draft on that thing was plenty. So anyway, Pearl Harbor, submarine relief crew, worked on a few submarines, went with the submarine tender USS Peleus, went to Guam, was assigned as relief crew on the Kingfish, and in fact I was actually assigned as crew to board the Kingfish. And about 6-7 days later, orders they need a motor Mac over on the Sea Dragon. So I was actually assigned to the Kingfish, and my record, if you look at it, will say USS Kingfish, it will say USS Sea Dragon, and USS Bowfin. However, I went to the Sea Dragon. Same thing happened there. I was there about 2 weeks, relief crew, and all of a sudden they came aboard and they said they need a motor Mac on the Bowfin. She's over here, she's ready to leave on her 8th patrol. And so I gathered up my sea bag and so on, and there I was. I was a bona fide member of the USS Bowfin. Alexander Tyree was our skipper at the time, and I want to tell you, I was glad at last I was on a submarine. Now the other thing I got is a little bit personal here. But again, I made a remark in the beginning about my mother and my sisters and so on. And the other thing that was a very personal thing, that at that time I didn't tell anybody, of course, but I knew that you got sea pay for being at sea, and I also knew that you got 50% more for hazardous pay for submarine duty. So I did a little fast arithmetic and say, well, if I'm going to get shot at, I might as well get paid for it. So that was the other thing. There was a plus on my part. I was making extra money for what I did. Basically, that's how I came to be a submariner. Here I am.